All right. Nothing like leading a technology workshop and then technology not working and just, so I'm not sweating. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you get a lot of things out of this. So I'm just going to get started with the first slide here because I have to set up the stage, okay? So once upon a time, and I'm going to tell you a story, there's always going to be some story here. Once upon a time, businesses and organizations would call in industry experts to teach them on different topics, or if they have specific problems, to just give them the solution. Well, today the business landscape looks so much different, and with the new technologies that arise at an exponentially high rate, there's so many new players that enter the marketplace and exit the marketplace, and the new rules models that used to work for businesses don't necessarily work so much anymore. So one way in which companies and organizations can solve some of the pain points and the problems today is by looking at the collective intelligence, by crowdsourcing expertise, and also by employing the human AI collaboration. And today, the goal is that we can unveil some of the generative AI tools that can help you chart a journey of discovery and growth for your business. And before we do that, let me introduce myself really quick. My name is Anca Platon Trifan, and I am the owner of a boutique event agency local to the Treasure Valley that specializes in using the latest AV and I technology to deliver ROI at events. I'm also the podcast host for Events Demystified, which is currently actually running the latest season, the Eventful AI, and all we do is just dive deep into the AI and how can that be applied to business and events. And I'm very much into the neuroscience of wellness. I'm a total nerd at heart. I graduated in computer science, and then I just made a name for myself in the world of AV, IT, and AI. So with that being said, actually, I'm gonna run a quick poll for all of you. What I would love to know first, so there's a QR code. I would love for you to go to that, or just go to minty.com, and there's a code you're gonna enter. And I would love to hear some of the pain points that you're experiencing, that you're hoping that AI will solve for you. And there is a place where you can enter 3 words to describe your problem, or maybe what is some AI-related topic that you like to learn more about. So scan the QR code, and while you do that, I will just start by professing I am a big believer in the power of AI and the latest technology. However, I am very much apprehensive of all the implications, and there's a lot of implications that we all need to be aware of. But as a minority small business owner, the advantage that I need in a niche that I operate, which is very much male dominated, if there's a way where I can get an advantage, sign me up, because I will use it. So my hope is that at the end of the day, you just look at all of those tools and you will allow it to do some of the heavy lifting in your business while you focus on growth. Now, let's see if I can see some of the results here. Okay. All right. Okay. Very, very cool. Cool, interesting findings. Because the reality is, for all of those pain points, right, there is an untapped world of efficiency and engagement waiting for your business, or if you're just a solo entrepreneur, just waiting for you to harness leveraging AI. Latest research shows that AI chatbots, like for example ChatGPT, can manage a software company's process end-to-end, offering a cost-effective solution that might reshape business landscape. And yes, there were some errors and there's some biases. It's not perfect yet, but it's so scary good. So I'm going to keep this in mind. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for engaging with that. And now we're just going to move on to the next thing. Don't lose that link, because we're going to go back to that towards the end. All right, so AI is not going to replace you, but a person using AI will. IBM has just released a 32-page report that basically says the same thing and highlights how companies that are using AI to free up some of their time and some of their employees' time can focus more on issues that require personalized attention. And in one of my most in-depth AI workshops, which is what that QR code is for, and it's available on YouTube, I go more into the details of key ethical implications for small and large businesses, such as fair use, economic impact, new licensing models, and international implications. However, we're not going to do that right now. So if you're interested, just go and check that out on your own timing. Right now, I just want to focus on the tactical part of this workshop. Now, before we get to the good stuff, you heard me say Gen AI. So what is generative AI? And AI, as a broad field, has many subcategories that each specialize for a different task. Generative AI, which is a standout in the crowd, is designed specifically to create new content. It's reshaping work and creativity, much like photography did for art not too long ago. And there is many ways in which those subcategories are being applied. And unlike discriminative AI that classifies, for example, existing data, generative AI main gig is to just craft new content, like think image generation, analysis, video synthesis, and even music composition. Other type of AI, as you can see listed here, would do different things, like reactive AI manages self-driving cars. Theory of mind is for virtual customer service. Machine learning types like supervised learning will identify objects, while unsupervised learning detects bank fraud. And I remember attending a webinar where somebody was raising all these questions about how can we, detect fraud and all of that. Well, that's what unsupervised learning does. And it's a whole technical new field, machine learning and all that. So we're not going to go into that. Try to keep it simple. What is cool about generative AI is that it has actually gained traction in 2014. So it's not that new. And it was introduced with generative adversarial networks, GANs. The real buzz really started kicking off more like in 2018, 2020, thanks to models such as GPT-2, 3, and DALL-E. So what generative AI is the best at is to automate repetitive tasks for you to focus on creativity and emotional intelligence. So the work paradigm that we see as it is right now, it's very much shifting into this more human-centric pursuit. So it's not just that we would have a 24/7 assistant at our disposal. It's an actual game changer for businesses. Now, if you're a business owner like me that wears a lot of hats, you probably have a good idea how time-consuming some of those tasks really are. Now, imagine saving hours in the day just by using some of the AI tools that will help your business then automate those routine tasks, do more for less, so that you can streamline some of the operations, improve efficiency, generate ideas for new content. A lot of you said social media. That sounds like you need some ideas for content. And also reduce costs across a range of functions, including marketing, customer service, social media, not having to hire someone potentially. You can still hire them, no problem, but maybe give them the tools. Also contracts and product development. And yes, for a lot of people, it can be so much more easier and so much more comforting, at least in the short term, to keep doing what they've been doing versus learning something new. But remember that we're living in a world where there is such an unprecedented information generation, and keeping in step with these changes might just save your career and your business. In our short time together, what I want to focus on, and if you have a laptop, you can get it up because we might actually do some of those exercises, and I would love for you to do it yourself. I'm more of a hands-on learner, so you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but I got to do it first, and then I'll definitely remember it. So my goal is to share a few ways businesses can benefit from Gen AI by sharing a range of AI tools, prompts, and plugins that, again, you can start using today. Now, the list of AI tools that didn't exist just 1 year ago is growing by the minute. Right now, you can find an AI tool for every small niche use case imaginable. Those tools listed here are just a few of them, and the QR code that I have put up there is for a resource page that you can download, and you will have access to all of those tools. And it's going to give you hyperlinks and more information. It's going to be neatly categorized for you, so you don't have to worry about screenshotting, and you can download it now or later. However, we won't cover all of it here today because honestly, if I tried, it would probably take me several days. And I don't know if you want to stay here for that long. Now, the downside to the speed at which we are innovating in the AI space is the fact that it can be quite hard to keep up, right? It's like, here's another 50 new tools that you didn't know about, and you're just like trying to cope with the changes and with all the overwhelm that means. I was just preparing for this workshop, and in the span of the last 2 weeks alone, there were like several dozen more AI tools that I never heard of, and I wanted to check out because I'm like, I didn't want to miss on, and I wanted to not leave out, right? So that really feels like running against time because there will always be new tools, and some will stay, others will disappear. So my main encouragement to all of you today, there's going to be a lot of stuff that we go over. Don't get overwhelmed. Just think about picking maybe just a few that can solve your main points, the main points that you have just entered into that word cloud. Many of those tools can be redundant too. So if you can find one that does several tasks under the same umbrella, might take some trial and error and time, but it's also so very much worth the effort. And with that, actually, I wanted to say that if you do find yourself maybe struggling with just pinpointing the right tools because you don't want to spend the time or you just don't have copious amounts of times in the research phase, I'd be more than happy to sit with you. I do this with small business owners and event professionals where we identify the top 5 tools that will make the most sense for their workflow, their business, and their event. The QR code takes you to booking a discovery session with me. And the thing is, the first 3 people to grab a spot today is free. After that, no more. So if you're the first 3, you're the lucky ones. And I would love to be able to sit down and talk to you about that. Now let's get into the meat of the conversation. AI-powered task management tools are basically your ultimate sidekick for conquering your to-do list. And how many of you have long to-do lists? Probably all of you. Don't ask me about my to-do list because I'm going to get tired just like reading it. Probably you've already used some of those. I'm pretty sure you have, because if you've been in the business world, there's quite a few here that they're not new to, the AI space. What they have now is this AI enabler, AI powered feature that it helps you. One of my favorite ones is actually from all that list, although I've used probably 80% of those and I've researched all of them. But my favorite one that I use currently right now is Notion AI. Every AI app, you'll find out that it has a very unique application. And when you're considering to find the right task management software for you, make sure that you assess your ultimate goals and choose the one that aligns best with your needs of maybe enhancing productivity or just cutting down on the time that you spend on that to-do list. There's like, for example, there's one here that automatically also gets those tasks added to your calendar. And there's so many cool things. And those are just a few. Again, I'm not going to go into each one of them in the interest of time, but I have added my pick for each one of those lists at the bottom. And then you can go on the resource page and just click on each one of them and test it for yourself. Now, time management and scheduling. Oh gosh, if I could save some time in the day, I'd be the first one to sign up with anything. Just help me get more than 24 hours in the day. Sometimes I even consider like if there's going to be someone asking for volunteers to clone yourself, I'm the first one to go. So one of me can sleep while the other one can still do work. Because right now I'm struggling just to get enough hours of sleep with how many things I can do. AI-driven scheduling, basically what it does, it gives you those extra hours in the day because it will take the hassle of finding the perfect timing for meetings and appointments. Right now, up until now, I was constantly like looking at my calendar and trying to block time for creative thinking, but also like leaving enough time for client appointments and all the things that I'm doing. So a lot of those will analyze your availability preferences and even suggest ideal time slots for maximum efficiency. So for example, if you have a really high stake meeting, it's going to tell you like the best time to have that meeting is not 2 p.m., but 11 a.m. And all of that is based on neuroscience. So all of those tools, they're not just there like to fluff up your schedule. It's really to help you with a lot of data that you might not even aware of. And I use right now, obviously I use Calendly and Google Calendar forever, but Schedule also is something that I use to integrate into my calendar and helps me to carve time for not just my meetings, not just my, spending time with my kids. Guys, you don't want to see my calendar. It really says play with kids. There is a slot for it, I know. All right, how many of you probably have inboxes that would take a lifetime to organize? Yeah, taming your inbox is a breeze when you use some of those AI-powered assistants. And these tools, most of them, all of them, some of them, again, it will vary based on the tool. They will filter, categorize, respond to emails. I love the ones that respond to my emails that by default, I just want to say no. And I'll give you some options and apps for that a little later. But there's nothing like receiving a bunch of like spam email. And I'm the kind of person that I can't do ghosting, like where you just shove things under the rug and forget about it. I actually have to respond. Unfortunately, responding no to something that you just like don't want to say no to, it's like taking a lot out of me. So now all I do is just allow my AI assistant to do it for me, and then I don't have a emotional connection to that anymore. So I can just move on with my day, less frustrations. So those are some of the ones that are available. Probably you've already used some of those. I use Mail Butler, which is great for email management. Now, the best all-in-one AI-powered CRM out there depends on the specific needs of your business. Because I've had actually someone ask me, what is the best all-in-one CRM for my business? Well, depends on your business. And actually some of those Salesforce, HubSpot, I'm sure you've probably heard of, used them. And what I like about Zoho actually is the fact that it's actually app part of Zoho Analytics. And Zoho Analytics works with Google Analytics. So it's embedded into my Google Analytics, and then that one umbrella that I said that can do different things, multiple things under the same umbrella, so I don't have to have a million of them, because some of them will offer a free trial or maybe even a demo period, but most often than not, they're going to be on a subscription base. So before you commit, at least you want to know, is this going to work for me? Is this the right tool for me? And there's so many different, again, apps out there. So finding the best fit for your business, that's where the secret lies, because you want to be as efficient as possible. Now, probably not a lot of you really want to know what your Google Analytics does. I do. I took all the data from Google Analytics and I ran it through ChatGPT to make sense of it. And it was a lot of work because you have to, copy, paste, categorize, give ChatGPT all these instructions. But there's an app for it. Like there's something that does this. So you don't even have to worry about it. Like right now, I use Zoho Analytics that again is tapped into my Google Analytics, and then it sees what's happening. And then you can ask Zoho Analytics AI chatbot, what does this mean? Because I don't understand. So it's not just a matter of like, oh, I see all these graphs. They're so pretty. What does it really mean, right? That's what those tools are supposed to help with, to give you an understanding beyond all this technology, because at the end of the day, not all of us are born analysts. Like I would love to be that, but probably that's not where I want to spend most of my time. So it really gives you this like beyond human capabilities into some of the tasks that you might not have a clue about. But why does it matter? Because then it will inform your decisions. Then it will inform like, okay, how much money do I want to spend on rebranding or maybe changing this website? And when I took those suggestions from ChatGPT, they all made sense. And I'm like, okay, now I got to find the time to implement it on my website, because let me tell you, I have the list. I haven't had the time yet to do it all, okay? So there's still that. So that's why I'm trying to save time. Like, where can I gain more time by using some of those AI tools? All right, this is not for TikTok discovery. It's for content discovery. Like say you are interested in a specific topics. Like personally, I keep a list of the latest AI tools, and it's a daily update that I get all across the internet, because it's very curated and it gives me the information that I need. And also it gives it to me in a way that I don't have to spend hours upon hours to read these long blogs, because I don't have time for it. But it just gives me the headlines. Give me the headlines. Then if I'm curious, I'll go and read some more. These platforms will curate that digital experience for you, and it will tailor your online experience by suggesting some articles, videos, and resources that are very much aligned with your interests. So you want to learn more about business? Then, you have a tool that will help you with that. Now, personal financial management, I threw that in there because I feel like this is not just personal, but also is for a lot of small business owners that maybe run a business by themselves, and sometimes their financials is kind of mixed with their personal. They should separate it, but they're like, I don't know how to do it. It's not so complicated. Well, there's some tools, okay? They will really give you some insight into your spending habits. Probably you don't want to know that because then you'll be like, oh, shoot, spend too much time on Amazon Prime, like, stop it. But at least give you some ideas for like saving goals, investment opportunities. I've been using Mint forever, and now it has this AI power, like superpower to it. And I can see the difference between when I was using it without AI and now that I'm actually using it with the update. So there's quite a few there. A cool one is Twine, best for couples who, love to save but don't want to squabble over money. We don't know any couples that do that. Okay, chatbots. Now, I feel like chatbots is like a love-hate relationship. They've been around for a long time. Like if you remember their humble beginnings, Smarter Child, early 2000s. But they have been since then supercharged by machine learning and natural language processing. And they're very much indispensable right now for customer service, for sales, for internal communications. And it can take you not just from that customer service experience, but like to create seamless sales. And you technically could find a chatbot for almost anything. Like I'm using Tidio, and I can see right now on my watch how many of you have actually been tapping the website. And not only that I can see that, but if I go into analytics, I know where you come from, I know what pages you've gone to, I know when you exit, I know what your IP, and then if I don't like you, I might bot you. Like, I've actually had to do that. I was getting a lot of heat from like somewhere like Pakistan. And every time I was getting a hit from there, from that IP, there was a check on my website that was saying that there's a warning, somebody trying to install malware on my website. So it was going hand in hand. And I started connecting the dots. I'm like, wait a second, what's happening here, they're trying to get my website hacked. So I went and I blocked them all. And when I did that, that activity stopped. So there is power to those tools. It's not just something that, it'd be great to have. Well, I would like to know like who's checking on my website so that I can improve it. Like I would like to know how many people are spending time on this page versus this page. Or maybe I want to know why do they exit. All of this is in there if you're curious. Curiosity didn't kill the cat. It actually saved it. So keep that in mind. Now, this is going to be the fun part. Like that unicorn, I have a story. It's so exciting. It was actually imagined by my 6-year-old in Midjourney. And I'll tell you the story. I just got to go through the content first. So 2022 has been such a huge game changer with the rise of text-to-image applications such as Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusions. And the image quality that some of those services churn out will very much depend on the algorithm quality and the data set that it's trained on. So if you think of those three as, say, operating systems, I would think of Midjourney as your Mac OS in this realm. It's very much closed API and has a laser focus on design. DALL-E is more like Windows. It's kind of tech superior, but it's also corporate backed and it has an open API. And then Stable Diffusion is more like Linux, open source, and it's getting better daily thanks to the Gen AI community. Now, this unicorn, like I said, it was imagined by my 6-year-old because I asked her, hey, what would you like to create if you could create anything? What would be like your favorite creature? So she gave me this description that came with a story about this unicorn dragon. And I'm like typing it, in Midjourney. Now, what you're going to see next, sure, what we imagined was this, a rainbow unicorn mixed with a fire dragon in a magical forest, right? That's what my 6-year-old thinks. Well, I took that, and actually, this is a pro tip for all of you. If you are playing with Midjourney, which you should, I really recommend it, and I'll show you how. So I took that and I put it in ChatGPT and I asked it to generate a more detailed description of what we wanted. And then I took that answer and then I pasted it into Midjourney. And what we got is this. Now, this is the ultimate, like, uni dragon core, whatever you want to call it. It's amazing and also kind of terrifying, right? here's the thing, data can be compelling, but the point of solving complex problems is to solve complex problems. And with the bombardment of data, and this will only accelerate, it will be the insights that are wrapped in some engaging narratives and storytelling that will ultimately cut through the crowd. Now, think about it. What's more likely to get your attention? Maybe an insurance ad that explains how inexpensive life cover is, or maybe one that paints a picture about how your family will be affected if you don't get life insurance, right? So if you've ever been around a curious child, and I'm sure some of you have very curious children, just like mine, you'll know how good they are at imagining new storylines and questioning everything, the why 5 times in a row, right? And she had a story for me, like it was so fabulous, and it's getting actually better because this is yet another variation of the same image. And what this images will tell you is that just like my 6-year-old thinks in terms of storytelling, and she could make up on the fly this story about this crazy unicorn dragon in some magical forest, and he had like some fabulous implications. The text to image generation that you just saw will be storytelling. And it's an opportunity for you to let your mind wander, which is a great way to discover creative ideas. And honestly, it's a way that's been used by many brilliant minds prior to us brilliant minds. Think of Mozart's compositions that were actually started as melodies while he was taking long walks, or Einstein was daydreaming, and that helped him, develop his theory of relativity. Now, I'm not sure that we're going to discover like something amazing like that by just daydream all day long. But what I'm saying is widening your perspective by employing some of the AI tools that are available now, not just for productivity, but also creativity, will really transform your understanding of how you could potentially solve some of the challenges that you're dealing with and open your mind to brainstorming interesting new ideas. I have on my calendar time block for creative thinking. What does that look like? It's different from day to day based on the challenge that I have, based on the problem that I have. And my best ideas, honestly, I get them when I run, when I work out, or when I go for a walk. Those are my best ideas. I could stay in front of the computer for days and I'm just like blank, right? So that's why I'm like so into wellness, and the neuroscience behind that is so important. That goes into creativity as well. This is what my 10-year-old envisioned because he's more into the phoenix bird. So he wanted that. And like any other skill, you can't put your creativity on a shelf and just expect it to grow. You really need to be intentional about it. And the way you are intentional is just taking some of those tools and apply them. Now, there's a huge update for Midjourney that's going to release at the end of the month. And with this update, you no longer have to actually know prompt engineering, because that's a whole thing in itself. And we're going to go a little bit into prompt engineering just for ChatGPT. But with this update, what it means is that instead of like having to do all this like, envision and imagine and oh my gosh, the prompt engineering for Midjourney can go really crazy. That's why using ChatGPT really is helpful. And you'll see in the resource page that I gave you the example of just a simple prompt versus what ChatGPT gave me with like the lens, the depth, the color, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even think about this. However, this new update, that's why I don't even want to go into doing any prompting for Midjourney, because this update would really help especially beginners that are not very technical, but they might just have a really rich imagination. So it's going to be more like you're going to give the detail of a story, and Midjourney is going to generate a bunch of images based on the details of this one story that you give it. With that, if you have not used Midjourney, it's not as simple as going to a website, unfortunately, and it's no longer free. So there is a list of the things that you got to do just to sign up for it. That's included in that resource page. Just to get started, you might need to actually follow this. And at first, I'll tell you, it was a little frustrating because I have been using Discord for a while. And when I tried to take Discord and use it for Midjourney, it would constantly give me some type of problem with the account, because even though I pay for Midjourney, you wouldn't recognize in Discord. So it was a different story for another time. Just follow the steps and you'll be fine. I wish I had those steps then, but I didn't because I like to learn things the hard way. Here's the wildest story that actually I've heard this week. So there's this small Caribbean island of about 20,000 people that is set to make 30% of the country's revenues through AI. And you're wondering, like, how? Well, guess what? They own the .ai domain extension. So every time a company, which lately has been a lot of companies buying the .ai domain, and 𝗖𝗵𝗽𝗀, that's the name of the little island, ranks in about $140 per AI domain, right? So just this year alone, they made $7.4 million, and they're expected to make over $30 million. Like, why didn't I name my child AI or something? I'm just saying, right? Isn't that crazy? Talking about striking digital gold. Okay, so now we're gonna go into the ChatGPT, which I'm sure some of you have already used. How many have used it? I actually want to see from my raise of hand. Fabulous. So you know that ChatGPT knows if you teach it like a toddler. Do this and do that. Because what it stands for is Chat Generative Pre-Training Transformer. It was developed by OpenAI. It's built for chatty, human-like interactions. And P does stand for pre-train, which means that it will use a blend of licensed data, human-created data, and public information to generate replies. It says that it doesn't surf the internet in real time or access external databases, although, side note, it just came out that actually they've been served a class action lawsuit by California law firm Clarkson on behalf of millions of internet users who have said that their data was allegedly scraped and used by OpenAI to inform some of their transformers. So I don't know how much of that we settled or not. The lawsuit seeks to basically stop AI from further using data and to pay data dividends to the users whose data was used. Now, keep in mind that while aiming to offer, precise information and timely information, I wouldn't use it as the only source for critical decisions. So that's my only disclaimer here. What if there's no matching data set in the training that you're doing? Then AI will be predicting the next best word. And probably you experienced this and you play with it where you asked it for something magical and it just give you some crazy answers. You're like, oh yeah, that's what I was looking for. What I would say, always verify the information, implement some proper fact checking to avoid some potential pitfalls, because while AI can be a very valuable tool, it's important to remember that the systems lack the ability to sometimes distinguish fact from fiction reliably. So with that, we're going to go into some of the homework assignments, which is the AI prompts. Now, this is where if you have a device and if you want to follow along with actually doing it as we're talking about it, it would be helpful to either open one of those ChatGPT. How many of you have ChatGPT? So if you have it, probably you have a subscription, because the free model, it's available, but sometimes it crashes, sometimes it's not open for new users. However, the Bard AI you can use for free, and you can use that instead as an alternative if you are not, strong on ChatGPT. I actually constantly go between the two to double fact check the data that I get from one into the other, and I just there's other sources that you can use. Also, Bing AI is pretty good these days. So with your homework that we're going to do now, I will just take a moment to explain what prompts are. And this is what prompt engineering is, where you have this well-crafted writing prompt that will serve as a blueprint to inspire and guide pretty much your answers so that it generates focused, engaging content, great for social media, but also gets those laser focused answers. One way to master prompts is by including some of those essential components into the prompt. And that way you make sure that when you ask something, it's going to give you, a really good laser focused answer, like I said, because that's the only way you can actually save time and be effective and purposeful. So here's an example of prompt that would be more general versus one that's really, really good. which it's a more enhanced prompt that will actually clearly state what you're looking for, what your problem is, and trying to find a solution. And that is basically setting the stage for making sure that whatever you seek will be actionable and also be insightful. So that's just an example. And I put the QR code again for the resource pages because this would be a great time to actually access it. It would be better to copy and paste versus to just try to write it. Now, there are some prompt engines that already have prompts created for you, which is fantastic because then you don't have to think about all the prompt engineering. Like, for example, this one here has a lot of prompts built in. Some people prefer that over the other ones. I've actually been using Prompt Perfect and Prompt Genius for quite a while, and I create my own prompts, the ones that I know that will help me with my manual task and if I have some workflow improvement that I want to do. And also saves me time. This one has a lot of options, but it can be kind of overwhelming. Like the first time I opened the page with all the prompts, I was like, oh my gosh, where do I start, right? I try to keep things minimalistic and simple. So for me, that was a little bit more of like don't send me to Target or H&M. I just can't. Like, give me two options and I'll choose one. So if you're gonna use ChatGPT, and this is where I'm really, really strong on, because some of you have used ChatGPT. But if you're going to use it, might as well teach it to actually talk like you. I see so many posts on LinkedIn, and from a mile, I can tell that they have been used by a ChatGPT that has not been trained. Because if you go into that person's history of posts, you see them talking one way, and then all of a sudden, it's like they change their tone, their voice, like everything. I'm like, what happened? Well, they didn't train their ChatGPT. Let me tell you, my ChatGPT talks to me. I have to tame it down sometimes. It's like cheeky. Yeah, I couldn't find the word for it, but you get it. So might as well make it sound like you, because we all have a unique voice and we all have a unique tone. And if you want to be the person that you are, the professional that you are, to share the knowledge that you have and the knowledge that you know, then you want to do it in a way that sounds like you, like the way you talk, the way you would write that piece of content. So this is one prompt that I will start with from the get-go. And I have a more elaborate prompt that's called language detection prompt. And I use for myself, and it's fabulous if you're a content creator or a content writer, or you want to write social media posts, or you want to write website copy, or whatever it is that you have to write, or emails. All of that, it really will help if you start giving it some content that you've already created. So say you have some blogs, you have an email, you have a newsletter, you have a post, a LinkedIn post, a social media post, give it that content. And it's going to prompt you to give it like 4 different times, and it's going to analyze it. And I'm going to show an example here in this video where I'm using the ChatGPT plugin called Prompt Genius. So this is where I organize most of my prompts. So all I do, like for example, I just press on that prompt and I get the result. I don't have to enter. I don't have to type it again. I get everything already is organized based on what I need. So what this does, not only learns your voice, but it analyzes a text for tone, and it provides you with a report. And then the language detective goes even deeper. You can actually start writing posts like someone else. Say you really like a content creator on LinkedIn that writes this post, and I have a few favorite ones actually. How do I write posts more like them? Because I see the impressions and I see their engagement. I'm like, maybe I'm just not a good writer. Like, how about if I try to enhance my writing with some of the way they write it? But I want to know what that is. So I actually run it through the analyzer to see what is it that's different, that it sets them apart. And I'm not saying to copy them. I'm just saying to maybe it will enhance my writing in a way. And it's all about learning. It's like you want to get better, whatever skill that you're on. So another thing here is, before we get into the other prompts, is make AI write like you. So this is where you take the application of you taught it to sound like you, and now you teach it to write like you. So by now, ChatGPT is pretty good at understanding tone, voice, and writing in that style. But to get that tone right, you need to combine the tone analyzer with the prompt from this post, just so that it can write like you. And then you can give it all this information here. It will start reading all of that and then apply it to your prompts the next time you use it. Okay, so prompt number one, I love learning new stuff. For me, curiosity has always been one of my biggest traits because I want to know what is in this world that I don't know. But unfortunately, I don't have all the time in the world. So if there is a tool out there that can speed up the process and I can learn, close to 80%, but only with 20% of the effort, sign me up. So I actually use this all the time for teach me how to do better website SEO and optimization. And, that's been something that I didn't know much about, but guess what? I was able to learn it. Or teach me how to do my taxes, or teach me how to create this piece of content, or whatever it is. It will teach you so many different things. That would be really helpful to just do that. Now, how many of you like to write cold emails or messages? Because that wouldn't be me. But guess what? Now I don't have to. And I don't have to come up with just the right words. I just have to prompt ChatGPT to give me the exact message for my ideal customers, for my service, for my offering. And you play with this a few times and you're going to get some really good answers and some really good emails. And you'll be like, I wouldn't even be able to come up with that. Check. One more to do, crossed off the list. Now, here's where it gets a little more technical. Say you have a product or you have a service and you're trying to figure out some kind of a pricing model, some kind of strategy. And we all know that a well thought out pricing strategy needs a lot of input, like customer analysis, the pricing tactics, value propositions. And I would love to see the results. We might run this at the end with one of your specific examples. And I would 100% encourage you to take this and apply it to your service, to your business, and just see what it prompts and it gives you, and then go from there. A lot of the things that I'm trying to tell you here is that you don't just take that content, like say you want a piece of content for your blog post and you copy and paste into your website. No, but let it be the bedrock upon which you're going to build from. There's a lot of times when I'm straight out of ideas, and this really helps, but I was going to go to the next one. And this I've used for my coach, my fitness coach, owns a gym. And he was struggling with trying to figure out how to price his services. He has a bunch of trainers that work for him, and he was trying to figure out how to maximize his services, the quality that he provides, but also to make, a buck, because it's hard and it's expensive to constantly upgrade equipment and own a gym if you're not making any money. So I ran this model through his exact pricing strategy that he has, and for the product that he was looking to find, some ideas, generate some ideas. And it gave us a really good starting point and gave him some ideas that he didn't even think about that he could use. There was something that I'm wondering if I have that. Okay, here's the example. Let's see if I can take it there and open it. So here's where their current strategy was. And he's charging like $30 a month, and you can buy 2 months free if you buy a whole year, basically. And then you also get a free consultation with a coach. And there's some, pros to that, and there's some cons as well. But then we got a new and improved strategy. Now, I'm not saying that you have to go and run with it right away, but you can definitely think about it, because this is like having that free brainstorming that it doesn't necessitate a lot of time. And then he loved the idea of having that seasonal specials and loyalty perks, which it doesn't sound like it's such a game changer for somebody that's done it before, but he hasn't done it before. So it was something that was like, oh, I guess I could do that. And I can, figure out ways to also sell my merchandise by doing that, because he also does a bunch of merchandise. So this is what Prompt Genius does. And then as you can see, this is some of the stuff that aiforbusiness will look like. If you go to a new post, new here, what the hell is that? There's like so many prompts. But the good news with this is actually you can go and search for something like, I need help with social media. And then it comes with some already created prompts for your content I have a social media content generator here that I actually run, and it will, let's see if we can see it. Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing doing this like this. So let's see if I can run it. Let me run it, because I don't know where my enter is. I don't know if it'll let me run it, but I have the example there for you. So let's go back to our presentation. Get back on track. And now I might come to this to show you more. So this was the example of the pricing strategy. Now this is the one with the social media content strategy that is really, really helpful if you are looking to really get a gazillion ideas, or just 15, to get you started in your specific niche, because there's a lot of money that are spent obviously on social media marketing campaigns. But as we all know, to have a presence, it also requires that you have a content plan, but also you're consistent with that. This creates a schedule per week, or if you want to give it, like, it will give you the time period that you want to enter it there. So like if you want to post content every 3 days, it's going to create a schedule for you that can do every 3 days. You also have to know your target audience. That's very important, just because my target audience might not be yours, and vice versa. And this really helps you get started with engaging some really highly engaging posts, but also an optimal schedule for when to post them, when, what, all of those things. Let's see if I can go back to that to engage with it. There you go. Okay, now I see it. It doesn't help if you're trying to do this without seeing your screen. Okay, so I already gave it some information, and let's see what's generating. Oh, it's working. Right, so obviously this is for my target audience, is for my content, and it's actually pretty good because it's very niched, right? So it's not something that is just general, like how to build your self-confidence. So it really gives you, like, for example, Friday, I should focus on I have 2 channels. One is my main treefanevents, and the other one is a podcast, and post at this time and talk about this, right? So it gets me started. Like, now I have an idea of like, what should I ruminate throughout the day? Like, budget savings tips for audiovisual. Oh, actually I have some ideas. Another tool that I use is I record those notes. Like, I'm in the, I don't know, on a walk. I was going to say in the shower, but I don't record notes in the shower. But my best ideas do come in the shower. The secret is when I get out of the shower to record those notes, because otherwise I'm going to forget them like next 5 minutes when my child asks me something else about unicorns. Then I think of those things, and then I can actually come up with some content on a specific topic versus just going like generally like, what should I write about? I don't know, like I'm so out of ideas. This is another great one, and I actually have created some prompts for you that will help you to get a really good email campaign going. So like, for example, something that will highlight benefits. And one of the prompts could be, I need an email that will highlight the unique benefits of my product to this customer persona. And that's where you have to fill in the blanks and address these objections, right? Or you can explain value. I'm looking for an email that will convince my customer persona to sign up for my service by articulating the value they'll gain. So those are ways in which you can really enhance your marketing so that you get some responses and hopefully some conversions. Also solve some pain points. I need an email that will address my customer persona's pain points and position my offering as a solution. I just did analysis for some of my customer persona's pain points because I can sometimes feel like if I've been in the industry for a while, I'm kind of removed from the very basic pain points. But this is most likely what my customer is facing, even though for me, that might not be a pain point anymore. So this brings me back into that state of mind where, oh, that's what they're dealing with. This is what I'm supposed to be, helping them versus I'm thinking here and they're just trying to solve this, And with that, let's talk about mind maps. And this is where ChatGPT 4 plugins are indispensable. And I created this whimsical mind map. And I just asked it something like super random, like teach me the basic fundamentals of business from scratch. And he gave me this mind map, and it was actually pretty good as a starting point. So you can take those plugins and they can be embedded into your ChatGPT. And let me see if I can show you here. Okay, so like if I go to a new post, I have the option to get some plugins engaged. And right now I don't have any, but there's a list of the plugins. Like Canva is actually a really cool one that they just introduced just this week, where you can ask it to create some thumbnails, for example, for YouTube. And then not only does it give you images, and I've run this already. Let me see if I can see the other side. Somebody help me. Where does it say Canva? All right, so here's that. Like, where actually gives you all these examples, right? So this is created through with the Canva plugin. And the best thing about this is actually then you press on this and it takes you to Canva, and then you go and edit it, right? So like, I don't like these colors because they don't match my branding. But guess what? Once you take it to Canva, you can go and get it to match your branding. Those extensions are fantastic. I highly recommend them because they will save you so much time. And I'm a big proponent of all of those. I've actually used all of them. Google Sheets, oh my gosh, I should show you one of the things with Google Sheets where I ask it to analyze my workout routine and then give me graphs of growth of where I should be in 3 months from now based on the data that it's already been inputted. Because I have a coach, because I have a goal, because I have a show coming up, I enter a lot of data. And I'm talking about macros, exercise, routine, all of that. So it looked at it and it just started giving me all this graphs. I'm like, oh, I'm such a visual learner. It was fantastic. So you can use it for so many different things. Now, that's when, you're like, oh, great. We've talked about so much about ChatGPT and now you're telling me that it's been dethroned. Like, why did we spend all this time? Well, you can still use ChatGPT. I use it a lot with those plugins, but there's also this benefit in looking at AI Chrome extensions. And it's not just Chrome, it's actually web-based extensions that now are at the forefront of AI. And really fast through this because I'm like kind of getting out of time here. I'm sure all of you have used Grammarly once in a lifetime. It's been around for a while. But like one of the best ones that I really love is Compose AI and Rescue Time. Now, Compose AI is the one, and actually I use all of them. Compose AI is the one that I have a prompt at the bottom of my email after I install the extension, and I ask it to either say yes, no, or thank you. And it will read the email. It will include the parts of the email that make sense. I still check it to make sure that it looks right and it sounds like me. And the more I do it, the more it sounds like me, and the less I have to double check it. But it basically will compose the email for me, and I've saved so much time just using that alone. So that's a great extension to have. Now, before you do install any of those extensions, just make sure that you read some of the terms and conditions and all of that, so you don't install something that might be actually a virus. That doesn't help. So safety first before you get savvy. Now, few of those worth mentioning. If you're a video content creator, like for my podcast production, I use those all the time. Noted AI, it's writing my scripts, and I give it prompts, right? Like, it's not just gonna write a bunch of scripts that have no tangent to what I want to talk about or what the guest is about. Swell AI is great for transcribing the video, and I use that to also create chapters for my YouTube videos. And then Gloss AI, this is actually, I'm working with them right now hand in hand to really get this product to be the best product out there, because it helps with cutting the snippets. I used to spend so much time in cutting 30-second snippets or 50-second snippets for my social media. I don't have to do that anymore. It saved me so much time. It will take my video, it will cut it, and now it's AI generated. So like, say throughout that content piece, whatever, it's 60 minutes, we talk about AI in the beginning, in the middle, and then at the end. Well, AI will actually accumulate that information into one 30-second snippet. So it makes sense. Instead of me like going and like timing and cutting and adding and like rendering, Guys, you have no idea how much time I save with this. Fantastic. I don't use this so much because I have a husband that is a composer, so I make him do it. But that's a great one to use as well, especially for, for music, for YouTube or whatever content you create. This is another list that I'm not going to go into. You can screenshot this one because I don't think I have it. One of the sources that I go to sometimes to keep up with what's happening is this one here. It's on the list there that I included on the page. And then one last thing here I was going to touch on is news that came up literally this week. And it's Wednesday today, right? Well, guess what? Probably by Friday, this won't be news anymore. So there is this AI assistant that Zoom is coming up with, and most likely it's going to be released at Zoomtopia. And it will be fabulous. If you run Zoom meetings or you run any Zoom anything, it's the in-platform assistant that you didn't know you needed, but now you do. And it will craft chat replies, auto-generate all the meeting summaries, which there's some apps that do that, but now Zoom in itself will do a lot of that. It will also send emails, small recordings, snippets, clips, all the things. Meta is working on a powerful new AI model that apparently is intended to match OpenAI GPT-4, and that will be launched in 2024. Then Elon Musk also plans to data train this powerful AI based on all the data that has been harvested from Twitter and Tesla self-driving cars. That's interesting. We're going to see what that looks like. Then Google said that it will mandate that all the political ads will have to disclose if they have used some type of audio, video alteration with AI, which is their effort to limit some of the deepfakes, which I can see that is going to be plenty of come, actual campaign. And then the US government will start leveraging AI to uncover potential tax violations. So if you're one of those that have been cheating on your taxes, guess what? It will be so much harder to do that, so don't do it. Yes, screenshot this. Some of those, they are probably 6 months old, which is like not that old, but really so old when it comes to AI tools. So with all of that, I know that I literally came to time. The mic is yours. Go back to that QR code, which is Minty. And if you don't want to raise your hand and ask a question, you can ask me a question in the app, and then we're going to see it on the screen. I would love to hear if you have any questions, if something's just pressing and you're still, not sure about something, I can go back. I actually wanted to go to ChatGPT and maybe run some of those prompts. Are we in break time? Where are we? Yeah, it's my bad. I would love to pass the mic to you now. And then if you really want to connect with me as far as your business goes to figure out what AI tools might make sense for you or your business, then grab this. And the last one was the resource QR code, which by now you should have had it several times. And actually it's also going to give you the slide deck. The resource page is divided per slide. So like when we talked about task management, it's going to say slide, 15 or something. And you're going to get this as well. Thank you for listening to me. Yes.
Well, I just had a question about, so the content generated, are there any issues with copyright? Like who owns it when it's generated?
So that's where this apparently lawsuit is trying to figure out, because I actually put a LinkedIn article on the resource page that dives deep into this ongoing process. The US government had opened office for copyrighted issues content, and it's receiving feedback from people as we are talking right now to try to figure out what type of regulations should we implement. Like, for example, the Midjourney pictures that I just, generated. Are those mine? Are they theirs? Like, who owns it? If I'm a creative that can come up with something so amazing, and that's art. That's digital art, in my opinion, right? Like, my daughter should own the rights to that. But right now, it's like such a gray area. That's a fabulous question, but I don't necessarily have an exact answer just because it's in process. And hopefully we'll know soon. But it's really being determined as we speak.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I hope you gained some knowledge from this. At the end of that QR code, you also have a feedback page. So if you want to engage with the next slide, just give me some thumbs up or thumbs down, or I talked too much and I stole your break. So I'm sorry for it. I can buy you coffee later. Thank you.